There's usually more in life than meets the eye. In many seemingly tranquil societies, the mafia has existed, secretly controlling underground networks of illicit trades, some for over 100 years. These dynasties, shrouded in mystery, have carved their names into history with ruthless ambition and an iron grip on their domains. From the Sicilian Corleones to the New York's Five Families, their stories are woven with intrigue, betrayal, and power struggles that span generations. Uncover the enigmatic tales of these titans who rule through secrecy, loyalty, and a code of silence that transcends the ordinary world. The Genovese crime family, sometimes referred to as the West Side, the Genovese crime family is an Italian-American mafia crime family, one of the five families that rule New York City's underbelly. The origins of this family can be traced back to the aftermath of the bloody Castellamaris War between Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano. Joe Masseria was killed with the help of Charles Luciano in order to put an end to the war between he and Maranzano. After the war, Maranzano called a meeting of the crime bosses where he declared himself as the boss of all bosses. Eventually realizing that Luciano was a threat, Maranzano hired a gangster to eliminate him. However, Luciano found out and struck first, orchestrating the killing of Maranzano in his office. Luciano did away with the boss of all bosses title and instead set up a commission designed to govern the crime families in New York, an establishment that was later described as Luciano's greatest innovation. Founded by Charles Lucky Luciano, the Genovese crime family was previously known as the Luciano crime family until 1957, when it was renamed after the boss, Vito Genovese. His reign was cut short thanks to his ambitions. In 1957, Genovese fought for the boss of bosses title, murdering Albert Anastasia and attempting to murder Frank Costello. After all this transpired, he called for a mafia summit so he could consolidate his power. Unfortunately for him, the police raided the meeting and he was arrested. Eventually, he was convicted on narcotics and conspiracy charges and sentenced to 15 years in prison. For a long period of time, the family was run by Genovese's mentee, Vincent Gigante, who, for a surprisingly long while, pretended to be insane by shuffling unshaven through New York's Greenwich Village, covered in a tattered bathrobe and muttering to himself to avoid prosecution. This act of his went on for decades, and although those in law enforcement knew he was totally faking it, they couldn't touch him legally without more concrete evidence. Of the many crime families in New York City, the Genovese family is known to be the oldest and largest of them all. In the 21st century, they found new ways to make money by utilizing the latest and greatest technology to improve on illegal gambling, having customers place their bets through offshore sites via the internet. Even though Gigante's death in 2005 made it seem like there was a lack of proper leadership, the Genovese family is the most powerful family in the United States. After Gigante died, the family was run by Daniel Leo, also known as Danny the Lion. He ran the day-to-day activities of the family in 2006, and by 2008, the crime family's administration was whole again. Leo couldn't avoid authorities for very long, though, and in March of that same year, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for loan sharking and extortion. It is believed that Liborio Barney Bellomo is the current boss of the organization. If there's one thing that benefits any mafia organization, it's the Code of Omerta, a code of conduct that swears the members into utmost secrecy and non-cooperation with the justice system or law enforcement. The Genovese family still maintains its power and influence in New York, New Jersey, Atlantic City, and Florida. It is still recognized as the most powerful mafia family in the United States, thanks to their steadfast devotion to secrecy. Even if any of the members decided to snitch, many of their associates do not even know the names of the family leaders, or even of other associates. This makes it incredibly difficult for investigators to gather intelligence regarding the family's status at any given point in time. Chicago outfit. The Chicago outfit, also known as the Outfit or the Chicago Mafia, is a prominent Italian-American organized crime syndicate or family rooted in Chicago, Illinois. Its origins trace back to the south side of the city in 1910. The outfit ascended to dominance during the 1920s thanks to the leadership of Johnny Torrio and Al Capone. This era was characterized by violent gang conflicts over control of the illegal alcohol trade during the Prohibition era. While the outfit has never maintained an absolute monopoly on organized crime in Chicago, it has consistently ranked as the most formidable, ruthless, and expansive criminal organization in the city and the broader Midwest region. Distinguished from other mafia factions, such as the Five Families of New York City, the outfit has maintained unity since its inception. At its zenith, its influence extended to regions as far-reaching as California, Florida, Nevada, and it continues to operate across the Midwestern United States, Southern Florida, Las Vegas, and other parts of the Southwestern United States. Going back to the early years of organized crime in Chicago, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when various street gangs vied for control over the South Side and North Side. Concurrently, the Black Hand organizations in Little Italy were active. In later years, the outfit consisted of several street crews, each overseeing different territories in Chicago, including Elmwood Park, Melrose Park, Chicago Heights, Rush Street, Grand Avenue, and Chinatown. With the onset of Prohibition in the United States, outfit leaders Torrio and Capone discerned an opportunity to profit and expand their criminal empire by engaging in racketeering through small businesses. Capone assumed the role of a legitimate businessman and collaborated with business owners, providing a legal facade for the syndicate's income, thus avoiding law enforcement scrutiny. By the end of 1924, the Torrio-Capone gang boasted 300 to 400 members, while the North Side gang numbered around 200. In January 1925, Capone survived an ambush, and 12 days later, Torrio was shot multiple times. Following his recovery, Torrio resigned and entrusted control to 26-year-old Capone. Capone spearheaded an organization that encompassed illegal breweries and a far-reaching transportation network extending to Canada. The syndicate enjoyed political and law enforcement protection. Torrio's influence persisted as he advised the New York Mafia in shaping the Commission. Capone, meanwhile, resorted to heightened violence to augment revenue. Businesses refusing to purchase liquor from him were often targeted, leading to numerous bombings and deaths during the 1920s. This period marked the most violent years of Chicago's beer wars, with 133 gangsters killed between 1925 and 1926. The 1929 St. Valentine's Day Massacre, a notorious event that left 7 men dead, was believed to have been orchestrated by Capone to eliminate Bugs Moran, the Northside Gang's leader. On that ill-fated morning, 4 Capone associates, 2 of whom were disguised as Chicago police officers, entered the SMC Cartage Company garage and executed the victims. Despite his criminal enterprises, Capone was ultimately only convicted on 3 counts of income tax evasion in 1931, receiving an 11-year federal prison sentence, a $50,000 fine, and legal costs. He was also held accountable for $215,000 in back taxes, plus interest. Capone passed away from heart failure due to apoplexy on January 25, 1947. Many decades have passed, and the current boss is a man named Salvatore Sali D. De Laurentiis. He was inducted into the organization in either 1988 or 1989 and took charge of Lake County, Illinois. De Laurentiis faced indictment in 1993, along with several others in the Good Ship Lollipop case, which revolved around mob-related murders committed by the Cicero Street crew. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison and subsequently released in 2007. His exact role within the outfit between 2007 and 2014, when he became boss, remains unclear, although it is speculated that he held a co-capo position within the Cicero crew. The Chicago outfit has been the subject of many stories in popular culture. They've been portrayed in movies like The Making of the Mob, Chicago, The Outfit, and Capone, just to name a few. Despite increased scrutiny from law enforcement and a gradual decrease in its influence since the late 20th century, the Chicago outfit remains a prominent and highly operational organized crime syndicate within the Chicago metropolitan area and the broader Midwestern region. The Dixie Mafia. The Dixie Mafia, which emerged during the late 1960s, had its origins in rather unassuming circumstances. Initially, it operated as a loosely affiliated network of itinerant criminals, specializing in residential robberies, burglaries, and thefts. This criminal collective lacked a defined hierarchy, and leadership was determined solely by a single criterion: wealth. Indeed, the individual with the most substantial financial clout assumed command of the group. Remarkably, despite their unconventional structure in comparison to more traditional mafia organizations of the era, the Dixie Mafia adhered to a strict, unwavering principle that all its members were expected to uphold: thou shalt not cooperate with law enforcement. This steadfast code of silence ensured their solidarity and safeguarded their illicit activities, forging a unique and enduring criminal legacy deeply rooted in the American South. In stark contrast to many traditional mafia organizations of that era, the Dixie Mafia's structure deviated significantly. Unlike other criminal groups, which often had members bound by familial ties or shared ethnic backgrounds, the Dixie Mafia's composition was a mosaic of loosely affiliated individuals from diverse nationalities. Their common objective? To accumulate wealth and exert control over a spectrum of illegal money-making enterprises through any means necessary, including influence peddling, bribery of public officials, and even murder. The Dixie Mafia garnered notoriety for its ruthless execution of contract killings, particularly targeting former associates. During its zenith, spanning from the early 1960s to the late late 1980s, the gang orchestrated the murders of numerous individuals, primarily motivated by the victims' perceived transgressions. These transgressions often revolved around testifying or threatening to testify against fellow members, a breach of loyalty that the Dixie Mafia deemed unforgivable. Consequently, such actions were met with only one response: swift and deadly execution, solidifying their reputation as a formidable and merciless criminal syndicate. The Strip in Biloxi, Mississippi, stood as the epicenter of the Dixie Mafia's operations, with a man named Mike Gillick Jr. emerging as the de facto kingpin of this criminal empire. Hailing from Croatian heritage and born into a large, impoverished family, Mike defied his humble beginnings, rising to prominence in Biloxi's Point Cadet District and amassing substantial wealth as an enterprising entrepreneur along the Strip. His empire included a chain of motels and nightclubs, many of which also doubled as strip joints, gambling establishments, and even a bingo parlor. This diverse portfolio of enterprises solidified Mike's influence over the criminal landscape, making him a pivotal figure in the Dixie Mafia's intricate web. Remarkably, Mike enjoyed unwavering trust from nearly every member of the organization. Even those who harbored suspicions about their fellow gangsters placed their faith in him. To investigators, the operations surrounding Mike and his criminal associates seemed akin to a clandestine post office, with Mike serving as the group's financial mastermind and linchpin, orchestrating their illicit activities from the shadows of the Strip. The Dixie Mafia, a notorious criminal organization, had its roots firmly planted in the Appalachian states. However, their nefarious operations were strategically dispersed across various regions, often dwelling in the less conspicuous corners of major states such as Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. This decentralized approach made it incredibly challenging for authorities to pinpoint the group's activities and unravel their intricate web of crime. Their modus operandi thrived in areas lacking robust and coordinated law enforcement efforts. In these law enforcement deserts, the Dixie Mafia operated with impunity, engaging in a wide range of illicit activities, including murder, intimidation, and racketeering. Local authorities struggled to directly connect these criminal acts to the Dixie Mafia, providing the organization with a veil of protection that allowed them to persist in their illicit pursuits. This clandestine network operated in the shadows, evading justice and further solidifying its reputation as a formidable criminal force in the American South. Adams family. In the 1980s, Terrence Terry George Adams, along with his brothers Thomas Tommy Sean Adams and Patrick Patsy Daniel John Adams, formed a syndicate, with Terry as the financier and Patrick as the enforcer. These brothers, born to Irish parents and part of a large family of 11 siblings raised in Barnesbury, Islington, established their base in Clerkenwell. Terry Adams, until his admission of money laundering in 2007, resided in Barnesbury. Over time, the syndicate expanded, enlisting other Adams family members and childhood friends. Their criminal activities allegedly encompass drug trafficking, extortion, gold bullion shipment hijackings, and security fraud. The Adams family has been linked to 25 gangland murders, targeting informants and rival criminals. Notably, they were said to have cultivated connections within the Metropolitan Police and even claimed to have influenced a British Conservative MP. The shooting of Mad Frankie Fraser in 1991 was attributed to the Adams family, although Fraser asserted that rogue police had targeted him. Additionally, the family is believed to have ties with various criminal organizations, particularly South American drug cartels. While the BBC reported a decline in their influence from 2000 onwards, some police officers, speaking off the record to British newspapers, have suggested that the Adams family has been credited with crimes they did not commit. Nonetheless, the Metropolitan Police took their activities so seriously that they considered involving MI5, the country's highest-level security service, to dismantle the Adams crime cartel. Tommy Adams was imprisoned for money laundering and involvement in an unsanctioned drugs plot, distancing him from his brothers. Terry Adams was recorded by MI5 during an 18-month surveillance operation, expressing strained relations with Tommy in 1998. It has been estimated that the family amassed a criminal fortune of up to £200 million. Before Tommy and Terry Adams's convictions in 1998 and 2007, the failure to secure convictions against them led to a perception that they had undermined the justice system, rendering themselves untouchable. Allegations of bribery and intimidation involving police, Crown Prosecution Service staff, and jurors were cited as reasons behind erroneous not guilty verdicts for gang members. Terry Adams, the purported leader, has been serving a prison sentence since February 2007, while two of his brothers remain under surveillance by the Serious Organized Crime Agency and Spanish police, deterring potential criminal associates. Terry Adams faced financial difficulties after being ordered in May 2007 to repay £4.7 million in legal aid and cover prosecution costs of £800,000. grounds. Sean "Tommy" Adams gained public attention during a 2004 trial where he was linked to a meeting in 2002 involving former Football International Kenny Dalglish. This meeting pertained to securing exclusive management rights to Wayne Rooney, a football striker, for sports agency Proactive, co-owned by Dalglish and managed by Paul Stretford. In February 2010, a 38-year-old man, claiming to be Terry Adams' nephew, was convicted in the Jigsaw murder case. The trial revealed that Stephen Marshall had disposed of 4 bodies for the Adams family, resulting in a prison sentence of at least 36 years. In 2014, Sean "Tommy" Adams, along with 13 others affiliated with the Clerkenwell crime syndicate, was arrested in a police operation known as Octopod. This operation unearthed designer watches, 6 shotguns, and significant cash sums in various locations across the city, primarily in North London. The arrests were linked to charges of conspiracy to assault, money laundering, fraud, and revenue offenses. It is worth noting that Tommy Adams and Michael Adams faced no charges following their arrest earlier in 2014, despite media reports connecting them to the deceased businessman Scott Young, who had been involved in a high-profile divorce case in 2013. It is believed that the Adams family is the most likely inspiration for the hit series Gangs of London. Yamaguchi Gumi. Mafia organizations in Japan are more commonly known as Yakuza, and the Yamaguchi Gumi is known as Japan's largest Yakuza organization. Named for its founder, Harukichi Yamaguchi, the organization's history can be traced back to a loose labor union for dock workers in Kobe before the Second World War. It is not only the largest Yakuza in Japan, it is also one of the largest criminal organizations in the world. Being among the largest mafia in the world, the Yamaguchi Gumi are also among the wealthiest gangsters there are, raking in billions of dollars a year from extortion, gambling, the sex industry, arms trafficking, drug trafficking, real estate, and construction kickback schemes. They are also involved in stock market manipulation and internet pornography. The Yamaguchi Gumi is headquartered in Kobe, and in addition to the vast network they operate all across Japan, they also have a lot of overseas operations. So how did one of the most profitable mafia organizations rise to such prestige? Though it was founded much earlier, the Yamaguchi Gumi took the spotlight in 1995 when they started a large-scale relief effort for the victims of the Kobe earthquake. Even though tremors lasted for 20 seconds, approximately 6,434 people died as a result of the earthquake. The severe damages were widespread, irreparably damaging nearly 400,000 buildings, numerous elevated road and rail bridges, and 120 of the 150 quays in the port of Kobe. Official support for the victims of this catastrophic earthquake was inconsistent and chaotic for several days, making aid from the Yamaguchi Gumi essential to the Kobe population. Despite remaining Japan's largest Yakuza organization, the Yamaguchi Gumi has experienced a decline in membership since the 1990s, losing 34,900 members between 1991 and 2012. Its membership declined even further by 2013, with an estimated 28,000 members, and dropped again to 23,400 members in 2014. By 2015, powerful factions of the Yamaguchi Gumi, including the Kobe-based Yamakin Gumi, the Osaka-based Takumi Gumi, and the Kyoyukai, split from the Yamaguchi Gumi, and together they formed a new group known as the Kobe Yamaguchi Gumi. Before this split occurred, the Yamaguchi Gumi consisted of 72 factions. The Yamaguchi Gumi are currently being led by an 81-year-old man named Kenichi Shinoda, also known as Shinobu Tsukasa. He began his Yakuza career in 1962 when he joined the Hirota Gumi, a Yakuza organization based in Nagoya and affiliated with the Yamaguchi Gumi. After the Hirota Gumi was disbanded, Shinoda founded the Kodokai in 1984 to be the successor to the Hirota Gumi. The Kodokai went on to be a successful branch of the Yamaguchi Gumi, establishing branches in 18 prefectures and even expanded into the Kanto region, which is traditionally not Yamaguchi territory. In the early 1970s, Shinoda was convicted of murdering a rival Yakuza boss with a katana, a crime for which he spent 13 years in prison. As the then head of the Kodokai, he was also involved in the Yamaguchi Gumi's numerous historic Yakuza wars. Thanks to his achievements in the Yama-Ichi War, a conflict between the Yamaguchi Gumi and the Ichiwa-kai, Shinoda was able to enter into the Yamaguchi Gumi's Kobe headquarters. Shinoda became the official Kumicho, or supreme kingpin of the Yamaguchi Gumi in 2005, back when they had about 40,000 members. He has since declared an expansionist policy, making inroads into Tokyo and eastern Japan. Shinoda is known to abstain from the Supreme Godfather image in public. When he was appointed as Supreme Kingpin, he took the train to his induction ceremony instead of being chauffeured in a limousine. He also reportedly stopped in a street ramen noodle restaurant on the way to the lavish Yakuza banquet arranged in his honor. He is quite the opposite of how Yakuza leaders are known to live. In popular culture, the Yamaguchi Gumi were portrayed in Marvel's Earth 616 as notorious enemies of the Shogun Warriors and the X-Men's Wolverine. According to the National Police Agency, it had 3,800 active members at the end of 2022. Pomalandrina. The Pomalandrina is one of the most powerful clans of the mighty 'Ndrangheta, a criminal and mafia-type organization in Calabria, Italy. Based in the Gioia Tauro on the Tyrrhenian coast, the Pomalandrina boasts of over 200 members and is allied with their relatives of the Mole family. The Pomalandrina rose to prominence under the rule of two brothers, Girolamo Momo Piromali and Giuseppe Pepe Piromali. Girolamo was the elder of the two, and he formed a sort of trinity leadership that lasted from the beginning of the 1960s until the outbreak of the First 'Ndrangheta War in the mid-1970s. All the other family chiefs recognized their senior position, with their advice being followed often without protest. The Piromali clan, often referred to as an entrepreneurial mafia, played a pivotal role in reshaping the 'Ndrangheta, transforming it from a rural-based criminal organization into a formidable force dominating various aspects of the Gioia Tauro region. Their influence extended particularly into the construction and operation of the new container seaport, marking a significant shift in the criminal landscape. In 1974, as the expansion of the port and steelworks in Gioia Tauro gathered momentum, businesses involved in these projects offered a 3% kickback to the leading 'Ndrangheta families at the time, including the Piromali brothers. However, instead of accepting the offer, the Piromalis, alongside Antonio Macri and the DeStefano brothers, pursued a different path. They sought subcontracts for the work, a strategic move that allowed them to assert control over the projects. The value of these subcontracts for the steelwork in Gioia Tauro soared to an astonishing $3.8 billion, and they were distributed primarily based on territorial considerations. The lion's share of these contracts ended up in the hands of the Piromali family, given their dominance in the area where the steelwork was slated to be constructed. This dominance translated into significant influence over the economic activities of the region. The 'Ndrangheta's foray into the construction of the steelworks exemplified their evolution into an entrepreneurial mafia. They seized opportunities until the project's abandonment due to the government's economic concerns. In 1977, a pivotal shift occurred when disputes over business interests escalated between the Piromali and DeStefano clans. Notably, Pepe Piromali orchestrated a hit on Giorgio DeStefano, the clan's leader. This deadly clash marked a brutal chapter in their quest for dominance. Shockingly, these fierce clan wars over lucrative construction contracts claimed the lives of about 1,000 individuals. The Piromali clan's entrepreneurial approach to criminal activities marked a turning point in the history of the 'Ndrangheta, solidifying their reputation as a formidable entrepreneurial mafia that wielded significant power and influence, not only in the criminal underworld, but also in the legitimate economy of Gioia Tauro. After Girolamo's death in 1979, his brother succeeded him as head of the Pomalandrina. His reign didn't last very long, though, as he was captured on February 24, 1984. On February 19, 2005, Pepe Piromali died at age 83, and his nephew Giuseppe Piromali succeeded him. The control exerted by the Piromali clan over the Gioia Tauro container hub has granted them a stranglehold not only on the illicit drug trade, but also on the smuggling of arms and various contraband. Within the Piromali organization, the Mole clan assumes a crucial role in drug trafficking and serves as the liaison between 'Ndrangheta branches in central and northern Italy, as well as Colombian drug cartels. Their influence spans vast territories, connecting criminal enterprises across continents. In February 2008, a violent turf war erupted between the Piromali and Mole clans, shaking the criminal underworld. The assassination of Rocco Mole near Gioia Tauro served as a grim reminder of the high-stakes power struggle within the 'Ndrangheta. The underlying conflict appears to revolve around the prospective investments of hundreds of millions of euros in the Gioia Tauro port, with both factions vying for a piece of the lucrative financial pie. Because of this, two mafia clans that were once so closely bonded became their own worst enemies. To this day, the Pomalandrina remain fully operational despite police crackdowns, and they've maintained their position as one of the most powerful 'Ndrangheta clans. Mozzarella Clan. The Mozzarella Clan, based in Naples, is a formidable force within the Campanian Camorra, renowned for its historical prominence and enduring power in the criminal landscape of the city. The Mozzarella Clan, originally an offshoot of the Zaza clan in the 1960s, was established by the Mozzarella brothers, Ciro, known as O Saloni, Gennaro, and Vincenzo. Their connection to the Zaza clan was through their relative, the prominent boss Michele Zaza. Initially, the clan's activities revolved around cigarette smuggling, carving a niche for themselves themselves from Borgo Santa Lucia to Posillipo and from Bagnoli to Pozzuoli. However, it was Cairo Mozzarella's entrepreneurial prowess that accelerated the clan's growth as he ventured into purchasing small ships and establishing his own smuggling empire. By the 1970s, the media had already dubbed the Mozzarella Clan as the kings of cigarette smuggling. However, as the 1980s and 1990s unfolded, the organization found itself embroiled in numerous Camorra wars, notably against the Contini clan. These conflicts resulted in the deaths of numerous affiliates, including Francesco Mozzarella, the father of the Mozzarella brothers. Francesco fell victim to an ambush in 1998, marking a tragic turning point. February of that same year witnessed a spike in violence, with 10 deaths occurring in just 9 days. The Mozzarella clan has a deep-seated and enduring rivalry with the Rinaldi clan, resulting in numerous casualties from the violent conflicts that have erupted between these two factions over the years. These bloody wars have claimed the lives of many, perpetuating a cycle of violence within the criminal underworld. Interestingly, insights from Pentitos, former members turned informants, reveal that despite the appearance of unity stemming from their familial ties, the Mozzarella brothers operate with a degree of autonomy within the territories under the clan's dominion. In reality, each brother wields influence in distinct areas, effectively fragmenting the clan into 3 quasi-independent groups. This internal division, while potentially advantageous in certain aspects of their criminal endeavors, also showcases the complex dynamics and power struggles that can exist even within a tightly knit criminal organization like the Mozzarella clan. One of the Mozzarella brothers, Ciro Mozzarella, was a pivotal figure in the rise of the Mozzarella clan to a place of prominence in the Camorra. Ciro Mozzarella, famously known as O Salone, was born in Naples on April 2, 1940, and emerged as a prominent figure in the criminal underworld, being considered the rightful successor to the legacy of Michele Zaza. He maintained strong connections with the Sicilian Mafia, particularly the Catania's clans, further solidifying his influence within the criminal network. Remarkably, one of the Mozzarella's sons was baptized with Giuseppe Calderone, the late boss of the Catanian Mafia, as the godparent, which just goes to show the extent of his connections. O Salone's network extended beyond the Mafia, as he cultivated alliances with powerful Camorra bosses like Mario Fabrocino and Alfredo Maisto. Notably, he was frequently seen in the company of Vincenzo Casillo of the Nuova Camorra Organizzata. Intriguingly, despite Michele Zaza's prominent position within the Nuova Familia, Mozzarella opted not to take sides in the war between the Nuova Camorra Organizzata and the Nuova Familia. In the early 1990s, Ciro Mozzarella had amassed considerable wealth. However, after a conflict between Camorra clans in Naples left him on the losing side, he made a strategic move in 1992 and relocated to Switzerland. From his logistics base in Lugano, he established an enviable criminal empire primarily centered around cigarette smuggling, often sourced from Montenegro. According to a parliamentary inquiry commission in 1996, Mozzarella presided over an illicit empire with a staggering turnover of 200 billion lire, yielding a net profit of over 6 billion lire monthly, which is equivalent to 4.4 million euros in today's currency exchange rates. Despite a brief arrest in Spain in 2002, he was released from prison in 2006 and returned to live in Naples. His criminal prowess remained intact until his passing on September 2, 2018, at the age of 78. Ciro Mozzarella's life and legacy were marked by his astute criminal entrepreneurship and his ability to navigate the intricate networks of both the Camorra and the Sicilian Mafia. Even with the loss of 2 of its founders, the Mozzarella clan remains a formidable force in Campania, exercising dominion over multiple neighborhoods and maintaining sway over numerous affiliated groups. DeStefano Andrina. The DeStefano Andrina, also known as the DeStefano family or the DeStefano Tegano family, ranks among the most influential factions within the 'Ndrangheta. The DeStefano Andrina, named for its originators, Paolo, Giovanni, Giorgio, and Orazio, aka the DeStefano brothers, rose to prominence within the 'Ndrangheta, an organized crime syndicate under the tutelage of Domenico Tripotto, the elder boss of Reggio Calabria. Tripotto had amassed considerable wealth through tobacco smuggling, and within a span of 2 years, the De Stefanos transitioned from mere 'Ndranghetisti to becoming the dominant figures in Reggio Calabria. However, their ascendancy did not occur without discord. While Tripotto adhered to traditional 'Ndrangheta norms, resisting innovations and the formation of La Santa, a clandestine society within the 'Ndrangheta aimed at enhancing the power and invisibility of top bosses, the De Stefanos were more modern in their outlook. They sought to adapt the organization's rules to exploit the public works market and delve into illicit enterprises like drug trafficking, which contradicted the non-traditional code but promised immense profits. Utilizing secretive Masonic lodges, 'Ndrangheta leaders established connections with law enforcement, judges, and politicians, facilitating access to public contracts. Paolo DeStefano's involvement in La Santa and the support of the Piromali and Mammoliti Ndrine enabled the DeStefanos to monopolize construction projects in northern Reggio Calabria, effectively sidelining the rival Trepotto faction from the public works sector. They even brazenly seized a shipment of smuggled tobacco belonging to Trepotto, further deepening hostilities. These progressive reforms and the inception of La Santa were met with resistance from more traditionalist leaders like Trepotto and Antonio Macri. It was only after the conclusion of the First 'Ndrangheta War, spanning 1974 to 1976, which saw the deaths of Macri and Trepotto and the emergence of the Piromali Ndrina and the DeStefano brothers as the new leaders of the Reggio Calabria Ndrine, that the new institution of La Santa gained full recognition. The conflict erupted with an attack on the DeStefano brothers in the Roof Garden Bar in Reggio Calabria in November 1974, orchestrated by Trepotto. Tragically, Giovanni lost his life, while Giorgio, the eldest brother and clan boss, sustained injuries. Trepotto was arrested in February 1975 and incarcerated in the Poggioreale prison in Naples, where he met his demise with the assistance of Camorra boss Raffaele Cutolo, who collaborated with the DeStefanos in drug trafficking. Another tumultuous period, the Second 'Ndrangheta War, was set in motion by the marriage between Giuseppina Condello, the sister of the Condello brothers and DeStefano's underbosses, and Antonio Imerti, leader of a neighboring Ndrina in Villa San Giovanni. This alliance posed a potential challenge to DeStefano's dominion, culminating in a violent feud that engulfed virtually all Ndrine in Reggio Calabria. A failed attempt on Antonio Imerti's life resulted in the death of Paolo DeStefano, who was assassinated on October 13, 1985. Following Paolo's death, his brother Orazio DeStefano and their cousin lawyer Giorgio DeStefano assumed leadership. They played instrumental roles in brokering the Pax Mafiosa, which brought an end to the Second 'Ndrangheta War. Subsequently, Giuseppe DeStefano, Paolo's son, took the reins as the clan's boss, but was arrested in December 2008. His brother Carmine DeStefano had already been apprehended in December 2001. The family's legacy continued with Paolo Rosario DeStefano, Giorgio's son, who was arrested on August 18, 2009. Investigators describe Giorgio DeStefano as the mastermind behind the clan, possessing a keen strategic mind and managerial acumen to identify and exploit the most lucrative criminal enterprises. His influence remained pivotal within the DeStefano clan, underscoring their enduring presence and adaptability in the ever-evolving landscape of organized crime. If you enjoyed this video, click on the card on your screen for more content like this. See you next time.